we have to talk too about the parallel, the obvious parallel here between Brian Williams' story and Hillary's story in Bosnia.
Yeah, those are both examples of self-aggrandizement, where they make the story seem so much more dramatic for themselves, that they were in so much more peril. And to back it up, because there are people who don't know the Hillary story, back in during the war, whatever year that was, somebody chime in and tell me what year that was. But she was on her way to Tuzla in Bosnia. For some reason that word sticks in my brain. And it was just a diplomatic jaunt, and she landed and she said her diplomatic things, and then she came back. Yeah, late 90s, 98, that sounds about right, Felicia. But as she told it later, they were under fire, and she had to run across the tarmac, dodging bullets and dodging sniper fire because it was so dangerous there. I mean, granted, she was trying to make a point that she was on a trip into a war zone and things were dangerous, and it was dangerous for the people who lived there. But that was not, in fact, true. She walked across the tarmac and met a little girl who gave her flowers. It wasn't, she was not in any danger ever, at no point. But she kept telling that story to make herself seem braver, to make the situation seem more dramatic. It's clickbait is what it was. It's carnival barkerism. It's exaggeration. It's what people do to try to get and keep attention. In her case, she was trying to make herself seem better, but what was really bad for her was when her darling husband was trying to explain away the lies, and he kept explaining away the lies because she said these things because it was late and she was tired and she was confused and she made a mistake. Well, it was actually a repeated lie over and over again. So, Bill, you're wrong, and you're lying to us about what she said and how often she said it. It wasn't a mistake. And even if we were to take your story that we shouldn't be concerned about her lying because she was just befuddled and confused, you just said that the woman who was our Secretary of State and who wants to be president now was confused because she was tired way back then, and now she's a lot older. I'm not likely to consider your story and your explanation being anything that shines a good light on Hillary.
We're going to look at some video in a bit about how NBC covered this, actually. Andrew Mitchell, Brian Williams. We can see how they treat the story. The interesting thing to me is that the cover of it, from the coverage of it from NBC, was actually surprisingly detailed in the amount of corrections, I guess, or explaining where she was wrong or where the defense was wrong that Bill Clinton was giving. I want people to look out for several things. The things in this clip that Bill Clinton actually says. I want the people to watch how the news reports it and where they correct the story, and I want people to look at the tone. This is a 2-minute clip we're going to watch. We're not going to get into it until JD's back. We just dropped him. I think he's getting all the tech together. But that's what I'm wanting people to look at. How does NBC cover it, and what are the things that specifically Bill Clinton says in his reaction to being called on this in this story? Those are some things that we can look at and learn from in terms of what the left does when they're confronted with stories like this. But before we do that, definitely wanted to get into the idea that isn't it interesting that we have lefties inventing escapades like this? Why do you think they would do that?
First of all, one reason they would do that is because they are seen as being incredibly weak on defense. And this makes them look like they get the war zone thing.
And that's important to the culture, that we have strong, valorous people. For some reason, the people still like that.
His first response when called out about it the day after Hillary got onto him about his statements, his first response is, "I regret that you think that is more important than these other issues." Now, that is interesting to me because it shows that sleight of hand, that don't look over there, look over here. And they attempt to make, I guess, a hierarchy of importance of issues. Well, it doesn't really matter that there's been sex in the White House and whatever. Everybody lies about sex. But here's something, otherwise in the culture, in the politic that we've got to do, and you're wasting my time with that. It's the same thing here. Here's Hillary, whose credibility is at issue over this, and Clinton decides to make it about a misstatement instead of about her credibility. And he's saying, this is not as important, this minor thing that she did is not as important as these pressing issues. That is a left tactic that I definitely want to address in the future, that misdirection, that inappropriate ranking. I don't think there's anything more important than Hillary's credibility.
Why do people generally look at CNN as even somewhat, I don't know, middle ground? They don't look at the big three that way. Most people know, okay, I'm getting the left. MSNBC, well, nobody watches. I mean, they have no viewers. But and Fox News, everybody just looks at it as the right, which of course it does skew heavily right with its opinion shows. So why is CNN in any way, shape, or form seen as being in the middle? Can someone explain this?